Her husband lingered by the window again, pretending to admire the frosty patterns. Inga peeked over his shoulder and smirked. The neighbor, Ludmila, from the house opposite, had long shown interest in Vitaly and didn't hide it. Inga stepped back silently and sat on the couch. She didn't want to cause a scene, so what if her husband looked at a pretty woman? She hadn't caught them together. Her health and nerves were more important. "Mr. Vitaly, could I ride with you to the stop?" Ludmila ran up to the car and looked pleadingly into his eyes. "Get in." "Where are you headed, anyway?" "Not all the way to town, just to the stop," she replied. "I'm late, and it's a 10-minute run to it." Inga approached, gave the passenger a surprised look, then at her husband, and silently took the front seat. She hadn't spoken to Ludmila for a month since their argument, and neither was willing to make amends. Ludmila jumped out at the stop, and Inga remained silent, feeling the end of their relationship looming. She remembered their days in a dorm room, how she supported his work, encouraged him to start a business, how they lived on just pasta at first, celebrated their first profits together, and how she helped with the bookkeeping when they couldn't afford a specialist. She had given half her life to Vitaly, and now he was looking at the young neighbor. Was she hurt? No, more like regretful and somewhat empty and indifferent. Their relationship had run its course, but there was a positive side. She was only 45, had her own home, and even her sewing hobby brought in a small income. She didn't need much to be happy. She saw little money from her husband's business as he constantly reinvested and expanded. Yes, he bought food, paid the bills, and bought the essentials, but she could handle that on her own. That evening, he stayed late at work, but Inga felt it was time to leave this love triangle. "I know everything," she declared as soon as Vitaly walked in. "What?" he asked. "About you and Ludmila. If you want to be with her, leave. I'll file for divorce tomorrow. The house is rightfully mine, you bought the car. And we don't have much to divide. I don't want your accounts, just leave my life." He lowered his head, maybe ashamed for hiding the affair for so long, or perhaps a bit sad after 25 years together. Their daughter had moved out to an apartment bought by her father, and they stayed together more out of habit. 2 months later, Inga received her divorce papers and planned a celebratory dinner. Approaching her house, she heard Ludmila shouting, "What do you mean you have no money? Your car is on credit, you promised me a fur coat, and now I'm left without it." Oh, what details are coming out, Inga thought, surprised. So, Vitaly had bought the car on credit, even though he boasted to her that he had earned enough for it. And she didn't even know that her ex-husband was constantly investing somewhere. Whether he saw any dividends was a question. If Ludmila thought Vitaly would bring prosperity into her life, it was unlikely. He was very reluctant to invest in his woman. But the most interesting part came 6 months later. Her ex-husband's company started to fall apart. Suppliers let him down, goods were returned, and specialists didn't show up. Inga learned about this from a friend working at Vitaly's company. There's a theory that when a woman invests her energy in a man, he grows financially, and leaving such a woman is a bad idea. But when the connection is severed, the man starts having financial problems. Whether it was a coincidence or not, Vitaly's business went downhill. Perhaps it was because Ludmila didn't want to invest anything but came into his life just to take.